The US says it will grant entry to all air passengers from early November as long as they have been vaccinated and tested for COVID-19. Travellers who are fully vaccinated will no longer be required to quarantine after entering the country. This new policy replaces the tough restrictions imposed by Donald Trump 18 months ago when the pandemic began. Britain and Germany have welcomed the change. And for more on this, let's cross over to our Washington correspondent, Oliver Zients. Hi, Oliver, it's good to see you. I am sure that this easing of travel restrictions will be welcomed by many. But what can you tell us, Oliver, about the timing of this decision?
Yeah, this has certainly been a very long-awaited and, from the European perspective, also overdue decision, because that travel ban was initially put in place by Donald Trump at the very beginning of the pandemic in March 2020. It was then upheld by Joe Biden once he took office last fall, and the European Union in summer lifted their travel ban. So they had a travel ban put in place for Americans coming to Europe. They have been able to travel to Europe as of summer because a growing amount of people are vaccinated now on both sides of the Atlantic. And so the European Union waited for the United States to follow, but that never materialized. So the EU raised pressure. There was a growing amount of frustration on that side of the Atlantic. And now starting November, everyone who's vaccinated and tested is allowed to enter the United States again. The big question that remains on the table, though, is, are all vaccines going to be accepted? Because AstraZeneca, for instance, a very popular vaccine in Europe, is not approved in the United States.
Interesting point, Oliver. And you did say everybody, but who stands to benefit most from the easing of these restrictions?
Well, first of all, tourists can come back in, and that's a big deal, not only for people who just want to come to the U.S., but also for the tourism industry and for the airline industry, because they can sell more airfare tickets across the Atlantic. As of now, only U.S. citizens and green card holders were able to come to the U.S., or there was a backdoor solution via Mexico and the Dominican Republic, but that rendered it essentially very complicated to come to the U.S. Also, thousands of foreigners who are not here on a green card working in the United States. It includes us foreign journalists, for instance. Now we can receive visits from Europe. Also, people working here on a temporary basis with a special visa. So your average European or German Volkswagen employee or any other large company that have been working here temporarily, their travel has not been in the national interest, and they have been effectively stranded here since 2020. So that's really a big relief for that community.
Oliver, how's this going to affect countries in Africa and Asia, for example? These are parts of the world where the vaccination rates are very low.
Yeah, that's right. And still in place, there are a bunch of travel bans. China, for instance, Iran, Brazil, South Africa and India. And of course, some of them are comprehensible. As you mentioned, the vaccination rates are low. India has a very high of infections, especially when it comes to the Delta variant that people are particularly afraid of here in the U.S. But then China has a very low rate, at least if you can trust the numbers that are published there. But yet the travel ban still remains in place.
All right. Thanks, Oliver. That's Oliver Zients, our correspondent in Washington.